Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Mynor Ramos with the TOC agency. We also have
Francine Carrillo Walters with Walters Asset Protection and Mortgage.
great. And so you have watched the last videos regarding velocity banking because we have a succession. Today, we're going to cover an aspect of velocity banking, which are the rules to follow. And everybody's been, wanting to know how does this work. So to answer one of the questions that you had about what is a debt tool, which we're going to talk about today, the debt tool most commonly known is the HELOC or the home equity line of credit. Those are for homeowners that want to be able to pay off their mortgage sooner. But there are other types of debt tools that you could actually use. That might be a personal line of credit. Of course, you have to consider the interest that you're paying on that versus the interest you're paying off. And we're going to go into that as well. Believe it or not, credit cards are probably one of the most effective debt tools if you use them right. Of course, there's a lot of rules that we're gonna go into that. And from my perspective, I don't like to use the term credit cards. I like to use them as investor cards. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you're able to, if you use it right and you're not getting sucked into paying all the high interest rates, and you're able to instead use the OPM the way that was intended for, you'll see how that works. But let's go ahead and share the screen and let's get right to it. So about the velocity banking rules, there's only 5 of them. I'm going to break it down and we're going to really go through um, in a very, very short time. We're going to briefly describe them because once you get into the velocity banking program and you start going through this, it makes a lot more sense when you really dive into your numbers. So rule number 1, you want to operate on your cash flow for 12 months. And the reason for that is because you're going to be moving that income in certain ways, and you want to have the most the income that you're using is going to help you to solve for the end of it, which is really the cash flow, right? So the rule number 2 is that debt snowball. Now there is there are different ways that people can pay off debt. The most common one that everyone knows, especially if you've taken those baby steps, is the debt snowball. Simple explanation: you take the out of all the debt that you have, all the credit cards, the amount with the smallest balance, and you pay that off. It frees up that monthly payment, and you start throwing it into the second, smallest, and then you take that money and you start compounding the payoff effect. But that's just the measuring stick for what we're going to be using. We go into terms later on that I'll explain. This one of them is called an avalanche, which takes into account the interest rate, and then we're talking about the cash flow index, which is another a little bit more advanced way of looking at this, where you come up with an amount, kind of like a ratio. If your ratio is 50 or less, then that's a very that's how you determine if you're going to pay that off or you're going to leave it alone because it's ineffective to pay that one off. It's called the cash flow index. Okay. The number 3 rule is that the credit cards are used to pay bills, to receive cash back rewards, to offset borrowing costs. Now, an example of that is if you use it right, you're dumping your income into maybe one of those credit cards. Well, the payment for that card was made that month because you threw your income in. It was the result of the payment. But then you keep using that card for that month because you got another 30 days, right? Usually. And while you're doing that, is you're collecting those cashback rewards. And aside from reducing the amount of interest that you're paying, you're also cashing in on the cashback rewards, and it's giving you optimizing the amount of that you're recovering from the offset accounts. In velocity banking, your credit card, your HELOC, your personal line of credit is your offset account. Okay. Now, rule number 4, and this is very, very important. So say you have a $10,000 line of credit or $100,000, HELOC. You would only use 66% of that debt tool. The reason is you already understand utilization. Credit card utilization is a factor in your credit score. So this is why you only use up to that much. You only leverage about that much. You want to be over leveraged. This is what we mean by being over leveraged. Rule number 5, which was really how we started this whole series, right? Knowing your numbers. When you know your numbers, you're measuring from month to month to month to month. You're going to be able to take the what you have right now and use it into the following months ahead, so that you're solving for cash flow. That's the whole idea about velocity banking, is solving for cash flow. So I know that I went through this a little bit quicker than you probably, satisfied with. Go ahead and run the video again, pause, watch this. And then if you want to know more information, there's going to be links in the description. There's more videos. You already know we work with the authority on velocity banking, which is Denzel Rodriguez, the finance geek. The link that we have is so that you can work with us directly, and I'll show you how I can get you in front of Denzel, if that's what you want to do. Obviously, there's a link there too for Walters Asset Protection, because that's what you're really here for, is to solve for being able to put some asset protection in place. There's so many videos that Francine has put together to help you guys with that. And then of course on the asset legacy side, once all this stuff comes together, it's about how to keep it in the family. It's about how to make sure that you don't give this away to someone who doesn't deserve your hard-earned money and other years of work that you put in. In the next video, we're going to talk about the costs of velocity banking, and then we'll wrap up the mini series. So again, thanks for watching, guys, and come back to the next video.